The 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast, Season 3, Episode 42. I am JT, joined by Frank and Jake. No Lounis this week. I'm just going to jump us right into the news and notes, boys, as we do have somewhat of a little big tidbit right in the middle of the offseason. That's DeAndre Hopkins has gotten released by the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to say stocks up. That's my initial reaction. I'll let you two jump on and share your thoughts.
I mean, stock up, sure. I mean, I think everyone saw this coming. DeAndre Hopkins was unhappy in Arizona. Kyler's hurt. This team is going absolutely nowhere. You know, DeAndre Hopkins at this point in his career does not want to mess around on a losing team. So again, I think this is everyone saw it coming. They tried to trade him for a while, couldn't trade him. Has a massive contract. Cardinals end up just biting the bullet, taking the dead cap for the year in a rebuild year, and let DeAndre Hopkins go to a contender, presumably. The rumors are he's between the Bills and the Chiefs right now, and I don't think that's really surprising. I think he's really ring chasing. I wouldn't be shocked to see him take a mid-level contract, nothing too big. I think he probably even gets less than Odell got with the Ravens at that 18 million mark. I think that's an absurd number Odell got in the first place. But in terms of dynasty, I mean, he's a 31-ish year old wide receiver that's played through so many injuries in his career. I don't think this is really going to change anything. I think he's going to do exactly what everyone thinks. If he's healthy, he's going to be DeAndre Hopkins and put up big wide receiver one level numbers. If he's not healthy, he's not healthy, and it's just going to be a waste. So I don't really think this changes anything on DeAndre Hopkins' outlook for at least next season for me.
No, D-Hop's always been one of those dudes that he's landing spot proof. That he's proven that. As long as he's playing at the D-Hop level. Question is, and it's kind of like a two-part question. What I'm more concerned about with D-Hop is, what do you guys think his realistic long-term outlook looks like? Is this just going to be a one-season sort of a thing for D-Hop? Is he going to have multiple seasons at still a high-level wide receiver? Because when trading for him right now, giving up that early second, if I'm not getting multiple seasons of production out of D-Hop, then I would rather just hold the early second as a contender and let someone else pay for him.
I mean, personally, me and JT actually just completed a trade for D-Hop this week. I gave up D-Hop and I got back right before he got released, the day before actually. But I got back a second and a third. My team's a little more, let's retool a little bit, pick up some picks. JT's more, let's go for it now. So I think it was a trade that we were both happy with there. I personally, I love D-Hop. I've had him on many of my dynasty teams for years and years and years. And I think his time as this consistent wide receiver one is slowly coming to an end. I just think he's at that age now. He's starting to lose a step. I know D-Hop was never that burner ever, but he always was a fantastic at the contested catch. But I just think these injuries are going to slowly eat him away, and it's just going to be a slow decline here.
I don't anticipate more than 2 to 3 years of, I guess, DeAndre Hopkins being fantasy relevant. I think 3 years would be asking a lot. But for 2 years, for the price of that second and that third that I gave up, and what I've been seeing, I saw he just got traded in the second, 3rd, and 20 league for what was it?
Anthony Schwartz
in a second.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know what Anthony Schwartz is really worth, but probably a little less.
But it is my second though, right? So it should be
all right. A high end second,
early, yeah.
A high end second and third. I mean, for that price for D-Hop, I'm just looking, and that's a 14 team league too, though. So that's I guess that's 203, 204 in a real a 12 team league. Where I'm going with that though is I just don't think you're getting anything of that quality, or at least potential quality production, especially in this draft. Next year's draft, obviously, who knows? People are always higher on the next year's draft right after the previous year's draft ended. So I'm going to guess there's going to be some decent hype going into it. But if you're telling me Marvin Mims, Jalen Hyatt, Jonathan Mingo, those guys versus DeAndre Hopkins, like give me DeAndre Hopkins all day of the week. Like he's a 30% target share guy who, when healthy, can do it. It's just a matter of, is he going to be healthy? And I'm going to take that risk, especially if you're a competitive team and you're looking to make a run. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I don't know if you guys want to add anything else.
I think the only qualm I have, and I was talking with Parker, who traded for D-Hop in the second, third, and 20 league, is that as a contender, I might just be more willing to shell up a little bit more and get someone better, and or try to just scrap by someone a little bit less. Because right now in drafts, I actually kind of like the early second. I think that those running backs and Will Levis that go off the board in the early second, I've started to really warm up on. Will Levis for more of the pure value play. These running backs, I think, could be pretty good for the price that you're paying. I'm personally a big A-Chain guy, but I think Charbonnet, I'm willing to not look at the situation. And I think that he can appreciate pretty nicely because that's pretty heavily priced in to that early second pick that you're paying, or unless he's the 112. Kendre Miller?
What was Kendre's injury again? What did he have?
I'll do a quick
I have no idea. I'm not the injury guy. I think he, I don't know, he fucked
I'm
something
not a
with his name.
doctor. The classic Frank, I'm not a doctor.
Meniscus injury.
Yeah, that landing spot, I
MCL
think that a lot of other people are more optimistic about the landing spot than I am. Just because they think that he's just going to take over the backfield. Not short term. Maybe next year we could start to see it. But yeah, I think that Kendre Miller's fine. Who would you rather have straight up, just vacuum in a startup draft? Kendre Miller or D-Hop right now?
D-Hop. I don't think it's that close.
It's close, but I lean D-Hop by a slight margin.
I think I'm taking Kendre.
In a startup, Kendre is going about a round later, according to Bulletproof.
Part of that is that I just don't want to touch a D-Hop in a startup, but in a vacuum, I think I'd rather have Kendre. Which is kind of just where my qualm is. Like, I think that I just like these early second rounds this year and what I'm hoping they would be in a future draft over having D-Hop as a contender. I think I might just stick it out with the early second. Now, I will say, though, JT, the price that you got him at, if you traded a late second and a late third, well, I don't think that's like a bad deal for D-Hop if you're selling him as like a rebuilder. Like if you're just looking to stockpile total value, I don't completely hate it. But as a contender, that feels a lot better to give up just because if I want that late second, man, I can get the late second. If I want that late third, I'll wait till the mid fourth because every late third, I feel like people are drafting head scratchers, right? Like
it was like a mid 20. It's like a pick 2 years out.
It's in 2025. Yeah,
it's at second in 2025 from a team that's. I don't know what that team is right now.
Whose team is it?
It's Body's team.
Oh, did I give you Body?
So yeah, they're okay. I guess for context, for those not in that league, it would be. They kind of have a good roster. They won the champion. Oh, it's Lucas's.
It's Lucas. Yeah. Oh, it was Lucas's second. Okay, so
Lucas's team is pretty good. Yeah, it's not like necessarily
just won the championship, but
yeah, it's a top 16. It's a top 16.
Yeah,
for now, but it's an older team.
Yeah,
this is 2 years from now that pick. But that's the thing about the second.
It's a team 2 years from now that, for context, has Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, and
true.
And Amari Cooper as its better players. So, it's a tough one to value.
I find seconds are the easiest to trade for, trade away. I think it's the most liquid what I'm looking for. I always have an easy time.
You want to know what I saw on Twitter, JT? A second round pick is literally the equivalent of a $20 bill.
Okay. Sure.
I don't hate that. It's just like a very fair, here's a 20.
Like, yeah, you can't get the expensive shit, but anything like, listen, I really want to get it. Yeah, here's a fucking 20. Like, give me some change back and we're good.
there's also so many ways to work your way into getting a second round pick too. Like you're giving a third and a player or something, and a better player, you get like 2 seconds for them, kind of thing. If he's not technically worth a first, like I don't know, it's just very easy ways to get seconds. I think.
The other thing I think that's interesting. Do you guys mind a side tangent? Here?
No, we'll
I'm going to bring it up
second.
every episode. The great thing about being a contender is the seconds and thirds, because kind of like you said, second round picks are super replaceable when yours refresh and you're able to sell your. This is why I did in one of my leagues a Cole Kmet and a third for a second. Right? I think Cole Kmet on Keep Trade Cut standalone is worth a second, which I find not going to happen for me, and I think most people, but whatever. But if you really want that second round pick to hold, you can do the Cole Kmet and a 3, and that third round pick sucks. If your team is good, that third round pick sucks, but it looks a lot better than it is. Just think about every single draft you've ever been in. That difference between 304, 303, and 311, 310 is massive. At 311, 310, 312, you are like praying that the one dude on your board from 307, 308 lasts. That's every fucking draft.
Yeah, at that point, you're just like, this guy might see the field. Like, that's who you're drafting at 310, 311, 312.
Compared to like 303, 302, 303 and 302 have been like pretty consistent draft picks. If you look back at previous drafts, I mean, Brian Robinson, you were able to nab around there. Claypool a couple years ago. Yep. Even all those other third round picky kind of steal dudes, the Deontays, the McLaurens and whatnot, dude, they were going top half, at least in like the middle part, that at least like 306, 307 part of these rookie drafts. That is a massive tier break that people, unless that team has a super early third round pick, like their team is fucking trash, there's not a tangible price difference when you're doing these pick swap trades between your super contender third and an average team's third. And that is like massive when you are upgrading that 12 picks into the second round. Dude, I had a trade a couple years ago. I traded oh wait, which was it? I think it was this is what happened. I think I traded Christian Kirk in a third for I traded Christian Kirk in a second for like a third, and I'm fucking it up. I
know which trade you're talking about.
I think I went the other way. I think I stonked my second, and then my third was 301, not a 312 into an early second.
You did. Oh no!
No, I'm not in this league with you. It was a different league that I'm thinking about.
I was thinking of the JT trade of Christian Kirk, but that's fine.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the early third in our home league last year. It was Matt Corral, Amir White, Brian Robinson, Rashad White, Tyler Algier were the beginning. And then the end was Tyrion Davis-Price, Tyler Batty, however, and Kyron Williams. Yeah. So it is kind of a substantial difference. I mean, Tyler Algier just got nuked, but if we were talking right before the draft, that was a pretty solid trio right there.
Yeah, and my dumbass took Zamir White, but that's fine.
Way go, Jake. There you go, that boy. Anything else you guys want to touch on though with this D-Hop?
Oh yeah. Rondale Moore and the rest of the Cardinals receiving core. Dude, Rondale Moore was good in the 8 games he played. He wasn't fantastic. I think he was still under 10 points per game, but I didn't account for like if he got injured during one of them. But I thought he definitely flashed a little bit. I was a big Rondale Moore guy. I don't even think his price has gone up from D-Hop getting moved.
I honestly don't think Rondale Moore is the benefactor here. I think it's the obvious one. I think I haven't checked, but I assume Hollywood's price has gone up since this, and that's who I truly think is the benefactor here. In games without DeAndre Hopkins last year, Hollywood put up a lot of big numbers, a lot of targets. He's Kyler's college teammate that he likes throwing him the ball. I just think it's the obvious one here, and I don't think it's fairly close of who's going to eat up this lost target share.
So I have two thoughts. First, I'll focus on Rondale Moore, then I'll talk on Hollywood. Rondale Moore, he's someone that I think, so according to bulletproofff.com, their ADP, he's going in the 14th round, and he's behind wide receivers like Alec Pierce, Cedric Tillman, who I take him over, John Mechie, I take him over, Darnell Mooney, I take him over. Yeah, I take Rondale Moore over those guys. But I'm not going out of my way to go and trade for Rondale Moore right now. I think he's that kind of guy where you drafted him, you probably put him on your taxi, you kind of just have him there. I'm okay just holding and seeing what happens. Maybe you have to promote him off your taxi this year. I don't know how many teams taxis work, but I think he's worth that roster spot. I wouldn't be actively trying to trade him yet because, like Frank was saying, I don't think there's been a big boost on Rondale Moore. But I do think he's that guy that you can have some hope in, and it's not like misplaced, like say, I don't know, my guy Terrace Marshall, where it's like, now this is the year he's going to do it. Like Rondale Moore was a good prospect, did suffer injuries, has had kind of just a crazy situation in Arizona with Cliff Kingsbury there and everything, and Kyler Murray getting injured, him getting injured again, kind of thing. So, maybe he is primed for a year 3 breakout. It's definitely possible. Then switching to Hollywood, though, I think it is wheels up on Hollywood as I'm scrolling up to see where he's going. I almost just typed in Hollywood Brown to see. Yeah, Hollywood Brown's wide receiver 34 off the board. Yeah, I'm all in on Hollywood at that price. You're telling me he's not considered a top receiver? Like, okay, these are the players that he's ranked behind. Jahan Dotson, easily yes. Calvin Ridley, I like Calvin Ridley, but still give me Marquise Brown. Brandon Ayuk, I like him, give me Marquise Brown. Terry McLaurin, he's okay. I still like Marquise Brown. Chris Godwin, same thing. Zay Flowers, the rookie, he's like, Hollywood was just better. Better prospect and everything. Went to the same team. Give me Hollywood. Jameson Williams, he's out for half a season. Give me Hollywood. George Pickens, Hollywood. Treylon Burks, Hollywood. I've already bumped them up 10 spots. DJ Moore, that's an interesting one. I'm going to go with the guy getting target share on a better offense, or a better passing offense when Kyler Murray is healthy, than Justin Fields. Give me Hollywood. Jerry Jeudy, give me Hollywood. Debo's interesting, still on Hollywood. Michael Pittman, I don't like Anthony Richardson, give me Hollywood. I've now bumped him up almost 15 wide receiver spots. Then you get to Jordan Addison and Quinn Johnston, and those guys, I'm kind of like, all right, maybe I might want to see what's going on here. I forget his name, who's in chat all the time, but he's the big Christian Watson guy. I want Hollywood over Christian Watson. I've almost jumped him up like 15 spots from where he's going. I'm all in on Hollywood. I see you've pulled up something here, Frank. What's this?
Yeah, I pulled up Rondale Moore's stats because it looks like he may be getting accounted in a game where he literally he got 1 carry and had 2 snaps before. I'm assuming that's when he got hurt and then didn't play after. Dude, you can't tell me that he wasn't getting some decent targets in these games.
Yeah, no. Price tag. What weeks were those that he was getting those? Because you got to remember
through 10.
Yeah, well, D-Hop was out the first 6 weeks of the year. So, I mean, a little carry.
Exhibit A.
Well, D-Hop's out the first 18 weeks of this year for the Cardinals.
I agree with you. I'm not as high on I don't think Rondale Moore is panned out by any stretch of the imagination. But with this type of target rate and the fact that he's 22, 23, the fact that he's a second round pick, and a mid-second round pick, so I think having that 3rd-year breakout definitely in the range of outcomes. What do you have to pay for him? If we're talking about second round pick type stuff, I'm definitely more out. But I don't think that right now he's in that range where you have to you can get something on top of a second, right? Whether you're getting back a Mostert, a cheeky Mostert.
He's ranked around Brandon Cooks. Says he's 2024 late second.
Yeah, he's right at 301 on Keep Trade Cut right now.
I'd assume to get him from someone, you probably have to give up that late second. I don't think a third's doing it.
Yeah, he's in the Mixon paradox. He's in the classic Mechie Mixon paradox. We're going to call it the Mechie paradox now for the second round because I feel like he fits the bill to a T. Maybe Donovan Peoples-Jones as well.
Oh, God. Don't put Donovan Peoples-Jones in that one.
Well, he's the classic, like, okay,
that's also way too long
producing
for a paradox.
Decent numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
He's worth a second on your trade calculator, but who the fuck is paying second for him? No one is going out there and buying Mechie for a second right now. Not happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But I mean, I think there could be people out there that are like, oh, he's got CJ Stroud. Like, he's got the opportunity.
Yeah, but if you mass offer his ass out, more times than not, you're not getting that done.
Now I kind of want to see. Oh, wait, hold on. I have a
Mechie share.
No, I have a. I can see multiple recent trades regarding or involving John Mechie. Let's see. Trades. All right, let's try and get ones that are, what are they called? More single-sided. There's not a lot. John Mechie in 308 for James Cook. You. John Mechie and Kendre Miller for A-Chain and Michael Wilson. That one's also tough. All right, here. John Mechie in a fourth for Jamal Williams.
Yikes.
I don't know what that values him at.
Probably less than a second. Jamal, I mean, it may have been pre-Kendre Miller going to the Saints, but...
Okay, here's some. John Mechie for 306. John Mechie for Zach Ertz straight up. Yeah. John Mechie in 111 for 110. Interesting. John Mechie and a 2024 second for Mike Evans. Let's see.
John he's Mechie not worth a second.
No, it does not look like it. John Mechie and a 2024 second.
Trade cut though, right? If you put in a 2024 late second.
Yeah, he's worth around a little less than 210. Maybe it's worth more like 2.
Exactly. John Mechie paradox.
It's worth a little more than 211, a little less than 210.
And in a startup draft, he's getting drafted around players that are traded for seconds.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, he's around Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney, Sky Moore, Brandon Cooks, Cortland Sutton, Jane Reed, Jalen Hyatt. Yeah, okay. But the Mechie paradox, so that's going all back to Rondale Moore.
Right. And if you're picking up Rondale Moore for 306 or in some of those other like wacky fucking trades, it's kind of like a throw-in piece. Because I guess and I agree with this, most of the trades that are getting done with assets like these are just little stopgap guys to even out trades, especially if people don't want to give up picks. I wouldn't mind receiving Rondale Moore in that fashion right now at that John Mechie type value, like a little bit higher than John Mechie even. I'm still willing to take the bait on Rondale Moore.
Yeah, at the price that you just said, I think that's fine. Yeah, I might go in too on Rondale Moore at that price because truly, I think Hollywood is going to command over a 25% target share, but I think there is going to be a nice opportunity share there for Rondale Moore because who else is
Michael Wilson?
Yeah, no, thank you.
I like Michael Wilson actually. I think Michael Wilson's decent.
Really?
I don't love Michael Wilson as a prospect, but I have this thing, and I recommend everyone do this, by the way. If you were just watching a random fucking game and you see someone just popping off the screen, I always mark that in my notes next to a player. It's just like, okay, the reason I found that guy is not because, random people were like, oh, yeah, well, he's great. Or like I looked at the numbers and was like, oh, wow, he's amazing. Like, no, I was just watching a random game and he popped off the screen for whatever reason. I remember I was watching, I think it was Davis Mills in that Stanford offense. Or maybe it was one of their running backs at the time. I can't remember. but I really liked what I saw out of him. Speaking of one of those guys, that Washington receiver, I think his name is Romeo Oduns. That dude's pretty fucking good. I think he's a stud. He's another one of those guys.
Romeo Oduns?
I don't even know who you're talking
Odunze.
about.
I think that's his name. I could be completely getting that wrong.
Yeah, wait. Okay.
I actually think he's like a pretty decent level receiver prospect right now. Or Rome Oduns. There it is. Yeah, because he put up 1,200 yards last year. 1,100 yards.
Okay, I don't know how much I believe this from draftwire.usa saying that he could have easily been a first-round pick this year.
Dude, but he's a good fucking player. He's like 6'3", 200 pounds. JT, you're going to like this guy, except he's not an early declare.
He's not an early declare, and like, you're telling me he's better than Jordan Addison, Quinn Johnston.
I think,
there's only a couple that went in the first.
I haven't done the full-on in-depth scouting MacGyver shit, but listen, he's a good player. I'm going to have shares of him.
Okay, yeah, all right. I'm not going to write him off yet, but he's also... Is he a redshirt?
I think he got injured.
Because he's still young.
Because I think there's that thing, if you get injured early enough, you could do the injury redshirt. Sort of a thing. I don't know.
He would be 21. I guess he'd be 22 starting his NFL season if he comes out next year. But he'd be 21 when he gets drafted, so it's not... I don't know. I'm not writing this guy off yet. Is there ever a situation to trade a top 5 tight end? What kind of overpay would you need? Maybe we could break that down in a second, because the next comment, Trey McBride is a sneaky winner, if we want to just stick on the Cardinals real quick. I guess it just depends on Zach Ertz, because I mean, I think Zach Ertz is going to play over Trey McBride.
Didn't Zach Ertz like destroy his knee?
He did, but I think he's, if I remember,
I think he's still cooking, right? Yeah, I think Trey McBride is the only thing holding Trey McBride back, though. That's the thing that concerns me, is Trey McBride good enough? I liked him as a prospect last year. If you have him on the taxi, I'd let him cook, but I don't think I'd call him a winner, per se.
Oh. I don't know. Zach Ertz tore his ACL.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
I'm reading his quote that came out in February, and it was, the goal is always to be there for the season opener. That's not very committal. That makes me think he might not be ready.
I don't know. He had a major injury at the age of 31. That's not a great time.
Maybe he is then. Maybe he is a sneaky winner. Maybe you're right.
I don't think it's sneaky. I mean, I think everyone's expecting Trey McBride to at least start the year until, Ertz is back. I mean, he was a second-round draft capital tight end guy. I don't think that's sneaky. I'm with you. I don't know if Trey McBride is the guy.
Dude, I'm not sure Trey McBride is priced like that, dude. Trey McBride's cheap right now.
He's tight end 19. He hasn't had any increase since D-Hop got cut. Like, he's actually gone down a little bit. Maybe he is sneaky by just because the tight end world, right? Well, I'm clicking off to just look at tight ends on Keep Trade Cut, and then I'll switch to Bulletproof. The tight end world has like Dalton Schultz and Cole Kmet, who I just think they're never going to be. What, you're surprised by that too?
Yeah.
They have Sam Laporta, who I get had good draft capital, but he's tight end 10. Michael Myers tight end 9. I just don't think these guys have similar draft capital to Trey McBride. Like, Meyer was a second round pick, so was Trey McBride. Obviously, he was closer to the first, but like we're splitting hairs there. Sam Laporta, same thing, like second round pick, so was Trey McBride. Like,
I don't mind the Sam Laporta. I do think that Mayer is a legitimately better prospect than McBride and Laporta. I think that Laporta was not being considered in the first round by any teams in the NFL, whereas Mayer to me felt like he slipped a little bit, and there was definitely teams, you know, the board goes 1 or 2 picks different for some of these squads. They're taking Mayer.
Well, I'm also looking at David Njoku and Greg Dulcich. I think these two guys are very undervalued for
I agree.
Done.
Wait, time out real quick. Time out on the floor.
Call him timeout.
Did Will Levis go after or before Laporta?
Right before,
yeah.
But Mayer went before
second pick of the second round.
Wait, so
I mean,
Levis was picked 34?
Because it was Joey Porter Jr. was the first pick of the second round, right?
Right.
So and that means Will Levis was the second pick of the second round.
I'm just pulling it up, by the way, guys. So
I'm gonna guarantee it went Joey Porter Jr. First, Will Levis 2, and then Sam Laporta 3. I think that's how it went.
Round 2. It went. Yep. Joey Porter, Will Levis, Laporta, and then Mayer was the fourth. There. And then Mayer was the 4th pick.
Yeah, Raiders got a good pick there, dude. Well, speaking of the Raiders, we can get to Jimmy G. So you guys are going to have to explain what all of happened, because I don't know what's going on.
For non-injury guy, Frank is out again on this one. Let me just pull it up so I don't say anything wrong here. But the gist of it is essentially Jimmy G had foot surgery. And I don't think people really knew about that until this year. All right. Pro Football Talk, who people have been kind of hating on recently, Mike Florio, he put out that Jimmy G. Oh, he's even addressing here. There's a financial clause in Jimmy G's contract that addresses his foot injury that he had in the 2022 season, for which he had surgery. So he signed with the Raiders and had foot surgery, after he signed with the Raiders. And there's a clause in that contract that he doesn't need to pass the team's physical because he's going to have that surgery. So I guess the Raiders did know that he was going to have the surgery.
We got the foot clause going on here?
Yeah. Because I think there was some cloudiness about there was some cloudiness about that, where it's like, oh, Jimmy G could be his future with the Raiders could be in doubt because of this foot injury or something. But
this is the most Raiders shit of all time. Only the Raiders and the Cardinals do this type of shit where it's like, oh, we got the foot clause going on, and
the modern warfare clause.
Yeah, the modern warfare clause to start off. Now we get the foot clause. What the hell are you doing? That just baffles me. But I guess so. Jimmy G's not going to be cut.
Well, they can cut him. So what happened, though, is they did move it from, it was originally a signing bonus. And because they found out he was going to have this surgery, they moved it from a signing bonus to his base pay. So now I think instead of getting $11 million up front, $11 million during the year, the $22 million is all based on him playing. So they can cut him if he doesn't heal.
Okay. Any takes on this situation, gentlemen? Absolutely none. I still see Jimmy G, taking snaps as a Raiders QB. I don't think this really changes anything. I don't know who their backup is at this point, but
it's Brian Hoyer and I think Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah, AFC.
Oh, that's why he's trending on. That is why he's trending on Sleeper. Yeah. This is a nothing. He'll heal and he'll take snaps for the Raiders. That's my take.
I don't know. You do have people on the internet saying, "Oh, the only reason Jimmy G would ever sign this contract is because his foot injury was so bad that he's taking a chance, like he might not ever play football again, yada.
I will say, I feel like with Jimmy G's play style, and from what I've seen before, I know he's had like ankle injuries and whatnot before, and that did really significantly hinder him at times when he had this foot to lower ankle type injuries. I think a large part of that is that he's just not one of these, like, I mean, you see some of the QBs nowadays, like Lamar. The dude doesn't even need to move his feet, and he's able to just sling it, right? It's hilarious, some of these plays that he does. And that's what a lot of these really talented quarterbacks are nowadays, right? Jimmy G has kind of been that methodical, I'm going to do everything by the book type QB. So I guess it could impact him if it's really hindering him during camp. I just don't know how to fucking value. Like, where do I make a value difference in Dynasty because of this?
The Athletic thinks it's a Liz Frank injury because that's what San Francisco originally thought it was going to be.
He's done.
They thought. Yeah, I knew as soon as I said those words what Jake was going to say. Because San Francisco originally thought it was a Liz Frank injury, but then they were like, "Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe he can play." Because he had it in December of 2022, and they're like, "Oh, maybe he can play." Then, obviously, he doesn't come back. The whole Brock Purdy thing happens. Then Jimmy G goes to Las Vegas, and he's going to sign with them, and he hasn't signed with them that day. And it turns out when they're doing their physical on him that they're like, yeah, you do need surgery on this foot. And then he signed a day later with that new addendum in it about his foot. So I don't know. At the very least, I think it is shaky if he's the day one starter. Like if he's healthy to go for the start of the season.
I mean, that's a different argument. I mean, at the end of the day, the Raiders came back to him, adjusted the contract so that they could sign him with this foot injury. I think they think he's going to be the starter. Maybe not day one, just because of rehab or whatever is going on there, but he's going to be the starter for, I would say, a significant portion of the season. I don't think this really affects, any of the receiving assets or Jimmy G or any of these other quarterbacks, because I don't see Brian Hoyer being a solution there. I don't see Aiden O'Connell being a solution there. It's just they really need Jimmy G. So I think it's a very easy answer here.
I've got myself a couple Aiden O'Connells here and there.
Good for you. Hope you enjoy it.
I thought he was not good in college.
I didn't either. I didn't think he was great either, but
I'm surprised he ended up on a team, if we're being honest. Yeah, I don't know. I think Brian Hoyer would be the guy to step up if he does.
Yeah, I mean, short term, he's got that, familiarity with the Josh McDaniels and all that. So he would be the guy that I think would take snaps if it's anybody but Jimmy G. So again, I just think this is a whole bunch of off-season hoopla.
Also, I could see a world where, say, Brock Purdy is ready to go for week one, and that's the direction that the 49ers are going. I could see a world where Trey Lance gets traded to the Raiders and just takes Jimmy G's spot again. Like, yeah, we don't think Jimmy's good to go. We're going to try it with this guy.
If that happens,
I could totally see it.
That would be hilarious. That's actually a pretty good prediction, like long-term prediction.
Yeah, because the Raiders are kind of just stuck in that. They're in that zone where they're not bad enough to get a good quarterback, and it's hard to convince a good like what quarterback who's like decent is going to want to compete with Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and I guess Russell Wilson. Who knows what Russell Wilson you're getting, but like that's a tough division to compete in just on its own. So, I mean, you probably have to get creative with how you get your starting quarterbacks. Jimmy G is not the answer long term, and I don't think AOC or Hoyer are either. So, I wouldn't mind trading for Trey Lance there.
Jacoby Myers, better, worse, or neutral on the Raiders?
Worse.
I
think the argument can be made like, oh, he's got Devontae Adams to draw like coverage from, but at the end of the day, it's Devontae Adams is going to be drawing all the targets. Like Jacoby Myers was the main guy, other than Ramondre Stevenson on the Patriots for the Patriots to feed the
Henry.
ball to. Hunter Henry didn't really get that many targets last year. So I just think I get it. Like Josh McDaniels there, former Patriot guy, but even when Jacoby Myers was like super successful, that wasn't exactly the same timeline.
Does Renfro push Myers to wide receiver 3? No.
I like Jacoby Myers more. Frank might disagree. I don't know, but
it's gonna play like Renfro's still gonna play the slot, and he's still gonna get some targets. But I mean, Jacoby Myers is just gonna be on the field more. So no.
I think the thing that's holding Renfro and Myers back is the fact that this offense just needs to be good. Right? Like, this needs to be a good offense. And it wasn't really that great of an offense last year with much better players. Like, no, not that it wasn't a battle. Josh Jacobs 8 and D-Hop 8. And that's really it.
Devontae Adams, not D-Hop.
Yeah, Devontae Adams, excuse me. Like, and I think there is an argument to be made that teams just have the book now on Renfro. And if you just double Renfro, you completely obliterate him. And you don't even need to do like a hard double team. You just like, do that frickin' switch coverage and just make sure you commit to it so that when he does his 90,000th move, you got someone there. And he's not athletic enough to really do anything crazy. So I don't know. I think Waller sucked for him, which was weird, and like Mac Hollins was a big option for him. So like maybe Myers can be a better Mac Hollins, but I don't know. Mac Hollins played pretty well, and I don't think Myers offers that skill set. But
Mac Hollins is a big dude.
He played well for him, dude. Mac Hollins was a good receiver for the Raiders last year. He made some fucking plays.
Isn't he? Is he still not? I thought he was still there.
No, he went to Atlanta.
Oh, I did know that.
But I think part of that was because him and Carr just kind of developed some nice chemistry. Mac Hollins kind of became his new Zay Jones. But I think all in all, realistically, neutral for Myers, maybe slightly worse. I guess the thing that sucks is you're right. He's just not the number one option. And if that offense is as bad or even comparable to the Patriots passing numbers, that really spells disaster.
Well, like the thing is, like him and Juju basically got the same exact contract, and Juju stepped into the Jacoby Myers role, and I'd 100 out of 100 times rather have Juju right now. It's very simple.
I wonder, though, speaking of that really quickly, I wonder if the Patriots let Jacoby Myers kind of dictate the market, and they just they didn't want to take the chance at, Jacoby Myers is going to get X in free agency, or if we pay him before free agency, he's going to be, because we don't know what he was asking for. But they may have just let the Raiders determine the market, and then they go out and they're like, okay, well, Jacoby Myers just got that. We'll get a comparable Juju and pay him the same. We were willing to do that.
I mean, whatever happened behind closed doors still doesn't change my dynasty opinion here. I'd rather have Juju, and I think it's not very close.
Let me look at where ADP has them both ranked. Wide receiver 56 for Jacoby Myers, wide receiver 50 for Juju. So they're essentially the same from what I'm looking at. It's like a round different.
For in favor of Juju?
In favor of Juju.
Okay. Someone I want to talk about. Now we're going off the rails here, ladies and gentlemen. We are just, if you want something mentioned in chat, go ahead. But I'm starting. Chigoziem Okonkwo. Or however the fuck you say his name. Okay, just answer me this, because I was trying to trade him to your bum ass, Jake. Bro, now I'm having second thoughts.
I don't want him for a mid-second. I'd just rather hold the pick. Because he's done so little He's had a few snippets of game of relative gameplay. He really did not play that much, and he really didn't produce that much. The only reason he's going up is because he's a super athletic tight end in a tight end market that is completely barren right now, and he's young. And he's young, right? He's a second-year tight end, and this offense has nobody. Their number one receiver is Treylon Burks, who did nothing his rookie year, close to nothing.
Not true.
And they have a 30-something-year-old Derrick Henry, and what is this team doing? I just don't think this offense is. I'm going to use the same thing you just said for the Raiders. This offense is not going to be good. And if I'm going to bank on a tight end, I'm not going to go on to a team that's not going to be good. Yeah, I think he has some upside, and I do think he's worth, probably a late second. But there is no chance in hell I'm letting that slip up to an early second, and that's what he's at right now to keep trade cut value.
Yeah, I was more so just arguing the late second. Like, what's out around with the late second?
I think a late second is fair. I really want him at that early third. I'll give you 302 for him. Right there, you go. Happy days. You get your early third that you can get a guy that slipped out of the second, and I take a high risk, high reward option in Okonkwo. Like, I like him. I don't like him that much just because I think this team is horrendous.
I strongly dislike. I don't know why I even clicked on him. I strongly dislike the way ESPN does the stats. But I'm pulling up Okonkwo's stats, and I'm comparing him to Greg Dulcich. And Dulcich essentially,
I would rather have Dulcich so easily.
Well, it's essentially the same thing, right? Okonkwo has 46 targets, 32 receptions, 450 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dulcich has 55 targets, 33 receptions, 411 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he's got a little less yardage and a little less touchdowns. But he only played 10 games. Okonkwo played 17. Yeah. So I don't know why Dulcich is ranked like decently farther down than Okonkwo. Like,
no, Dulcich is going higher in ADP than Okonkwo by a handful of picks.
I'm looking at tight end 11 versus tight end 14 on.
I guess there's some discrepancy. I think, from my perception, Dulcich is ranked higher than Okonkwo.
He should be.
I agree.
Yeah. I don't think it's particularly close. Like, I'd want Dulcich over most of these guys.
Right, yeah. I generally speaking agree, right? And Dulcich is right now worth that early second round pick. Whereas I'm arguing Okonkwo for the late second, because I'm on the same page with you guys here. I don't think Okonkwo should be worth an early second. I think Dulcich should be ranked above him, but I'm saying the price is a late second. So, let's compare him more in the Brandon Cooks, Luke Musgrave realm.
Right. I would rather just use my pick and take Luke Musgrave, right? I think you're getting a similar level prospect with just the same pick, and you don't have I don't love it. I think you go to a better offense in Green Bay and you just roll the dice there. And you said the other guy was Musgrave or
like a Brandon Cooks.
Right. I mean, Brandon Cooks, is going to put up. You know what Brandon Cooks? He's going to put up 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. There's no way Okonkwo puts up 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. There's just not.
I'm taking Okonkwo over Musgrave, I think. Dude,
yeah.
I don't know. Same. Okonkwo, he wasn't amazing last year, but the dude was putting up some decent numbers at the end of the season.
He really, you say that, but
dude, as a rookie tight end, I feel like you have to realize that so many amazing tight ends did basically nothing as a rookie.
Yes. And he had a few nice stretches. He had, week 13 against Philly. He had 4 receptions, 68 yards. Okay. That put up 10 points. Week 14 versus Jacksonville, 6 receptions, 45 yards and a touchdown, 18.5 points. Okay. Week 15 against the Chargers, 4 receptions, 54 yards. That's 10 points. Like, the thing is, like, he ended up having, like, I think he finished like tight end 29 or something like that. I just see him falling into this tight end wasteland. He's going to do exactly that. He's going to have his games of 4 catches, 50 yards, no touchdown, 3 catches, a touchdown, and 25 yards. Like, that's just what's going to happen here. I don't see him breaking out to be this next tight end. If I'm giving up, like, again, you're talking a late second. I don't think it really is a big investment, so I don't hate it. But at the same time, it depends on who's on the board, right? I mean, if we're turning around and I can grab, like, let's see.
It'd be like, let's just go down the board from sleeper ADP. Tyjae Spears, Jalen Hyatt, Chase Brown, Musgrave, and Cedric Tillman, I believe, are the next and Hendon Hooker as well.
Like, exactly. You're not giving up much, so I don't hate it. But the problem is if it sneaks up into that, if you're giving up a future pick and it sneaks up into the middle of the second round, then it starts to talk about you gave up something that's real. So
it's worth noting his best game was when Treylon Burks was hurt. So I don't like.
I just see him being a wasteland tight end. He's going to have a few games every year that are fine. I would just rather swing and try to hit on my own guy, right? If I can get a, Musgrave on the Packers, if I can get a trade up and get a Laporta or a Mayer, right? Like, you're only talking about trading up half a round from that late second, really. And I can get a guy that I think's a better prospect overall, better landing spot, more opportunity, and just a rookie. So, like, you're talking about a guy that has more time to develop. I don't love the price here on Okonkwo. Because I think it's going to fall into exactly what happened with us, Frank, where it's just like, I'll give you an early third, and you're going to say, no, he's worth a late second, and I'm going to go, okay, well, that's it.
That is an interesting idea, though, using Okonkwo as a trade-up piece.
I'm using Okonkwo and 204 to get Dulcich and 208.
Done.
Just doing stuff like that.
I also think that there's a bigger gap, at least on this ADP, than there should be between Okonkwo and Trey McBride. Like, a round and a half seems a little too much, the difference between them.
What'd you say, Frank? It's
I think that the gap right now, so I'll pull it up on the fucking screen.
Okay. Let's break it down.
Where is, can I just, whoa. How do I filter just tight ends? Yeah, here we go. Just the tight ends. So Okonkwo is going in the middle of the 12th here.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. I'm fucking this up. Nards. I'm really fucking this up. Sorry.
It looks fine on mine.
There we go. Okay. This might be hard to say. Yeah, so Okonkwo, middle of the 12th here. And then Trey McBride all the way the last pick of this 13th round. To me, this gap should be a lot smaller between these two players.
Agreed.
Like, I think McBride or Okonkwo should probably be back around where Hyatt is, and then McBride up a handful of spots. So it's an interesting idea as well, seeing if you can get McBride plus for Okonkwo. It's a little bit ballsier. I'd rather do the moving up thing, but as always with moving up, you usually have to overpay to be able to do that. All right, who you guys want to talk about next?
Let's pull chat, see if they want to talk about anyone. I'm going to just quick scan the ADP right now.
Because I got another guy I'm willing to talk about.
we could stick with the Titans right now and talk about Treylon Burks.
Okay, we can hit on Treylon.
Jeez, that's.
I think he's one of those guys who's. This is going to be a make or break year for Treylon Burks, essentially. Like, we're either going to see him like potentially in like the wide receiver 1 conversation, and we're going to see him in the like outside the top 40. I think. I don't
really think that's a hot take. I mean, when you have a guy that was a first round draft pick, you kind of expect him to produce right away, and if he doesn't, they don't usually bounce back too well. So I think he showed a little bit enough to like keep people interested in his rookie year.
The big problem with his rookie year was injuries.
Right. I mean, that's why I said he showed enough to keep people interested when he was on the field enough. So I think if he's got to take a big step, because this Titans team needs him to take a big step. Obviously, they're counting on him to be their wide receiver 1. And if he just comes out and is so average that they're going to need to go out and get another wide receiver, his value is just going to plummet, because then he's just another dude in a bad Titans passing offense.
The Jalen Reagor dilemma.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out Parker in chat for that one. Here's the thing. I think he's already had a better season than Jalen Reagor's had.
Sure.
I think it would be more comparable to a Rashad Bateman scenario. Yeah. But I like Treylon a lot more than I liked Bateman. I think that Treylon is pretty accurately valued. In terms of investing in Treylon and going out and trading for him currently, probably more league dependent for me, because on average, I would rather invest in a lot of the players currently ranked under Treylon, which is a list including, but not limited to, Zay Flowers, who's apparently half a round behind him. I think that they're pretty similarly valued players for me. Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin, Ayuk, Jahan Dotson, Hollywood, Deontay Johnson. All of those players are probably in the same tier to me as Treylon. And if I can get plus on top of Treylon for any of those players, I'm down. Totally down. Or I think I said that incorrectly. If I can get one of those players plus for Treylon, or in a startup draft, just trade back from the 6th round, a round or two, right? Like if I need to get a trade done and I offer a 6th for 7th round swap, that looks to be something that I would definitely do. And I think it's basically equal value looking at the players going off the board around there.
Yeah, I don't know. What Jake was saying is kind of where the Bateman is interesting. I think both were solid prospects coming out. I
think Treylon's a better prospect than Bateman was by a decent margin.
I thought I was super high on Bateman. But I also I'm super high on Treylon Burks too. So, it's kind of like the same thing. Zay Flowers, I don't buy into. The problem with both of them is, right? Well, not exactly the same problem, but the Titans just don't pass the ball, whereas the Ravens, Zay Flowers has a murky depth chart where he's definitely not going to be the first on his team in targets. I don't know where he lands on that in terms of targets. So I might just let that shake out first before I even go and get Zay Flowers. I just put him on the block, though, in the 2nd, 3rd, and 20 league if anyone wants him. Treylon Burks. Here's the case for Treylon Burks. I think it goes. We have the few situations. One, he gets hurt again. That's just mayhem. You'll have the whole. It'll essentially be like Trey Lance, where just conspiracy flying any which way about Treylon. No one really knows how he's going to be. He'll definitely drop a little bit in value, but I guarantee there will still be supporters and whatnot. I'm just going to toss that one to the side, though, because you can't really base anything off it. 2 is the Titans decide to pass a lot more. If that happens, Treylon Burks goes up really high. Everything's roses, blah, blah, blah. whatever, stocks up on Treylon. 3 is the Titans pass a lot more, but Treylon's just in which case he's kind of toast. You're going to be comparing him to Kyle Phillips. Who knows? I'm going to take the injury one out of there. So we have 2 situations right now. Kyle Phillips, stocks down on Treylon. And 3 is Treylon is decent, but they don't pass a lot. So he's just a wide receiver 24. And then he kind of gets the Brandon Ayuk treatment where he just like skids a little bit because of lack of production in that season. You know, he had his supporters, now he doesn't. So I think there are more ways for this to go wrong for Treylon than there are for it to go right, is kind of where I'm going with this conclusion. Obviously, Will Levis is a wild card. If Ryan Tannehill ends up getting benched for whatever reason, who knows what Will Levis is going to do with this team. And there are definitely ways for me to get excited about Treylon Burks and for me to be like, yeah, this is a guy that you should invest in. But there is also, you can just shift into other more stable, more attractive players. Kind of like Frank was saying with Zay Flowers. I just don't know if Zay Flowers it would be that guy I pivot into. I might try and trade up into Quentin Johnston. I know Jordan Addison isn't necessarily my favorite guy, but I think that would be another guy that you could do it to, where Jordan Addison might just pop right off the bat. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still optimistic about Treylon Burks, but I understand why a lot of people aren't. And
if I were to move up, I'd probably look to put Treylon into DJ Moore. That's who my target would be. I think they're relatively similarly valued to begin with.
They are. I feel like it's a lateral move though, in terms of like you're moving from one not passing offense to another not passing offense.
Yeah, I disagree with the not passing because I really doubt that Chicago's passing attack is anywhere near as bad as it was last year.
I also think DJ Moore is much more established than Treylon is. So like I'm not worried about DJ Moore flopping, right? Treylon can come out and just flop. So in terms of that, you're getting a very stable asset in DJ Moore, who's still pretty young. I think he's only 25. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind that move. It's not the flashy move of going and get, the Jordan Addison or the Quentin Johnson or someone like that. But it is a very stable move, put it that way.
In terms of risk, I think that Treylon's maximum initial pullback, right, if we're going to take the Rashad Bateman scenario, is probably around that mid-second valuation, around a Toney right now. And this is one of the things I think is interesting about Treylon is that now is... I really don't think now is the time to sell him. Unless you're getting either just a rando first and you want to roll the dice, fine by me, or you move him into one of those other receivers. I don't really like a lot of the other players on the board in terms of the comparable running backs you can trade him for and the comparable tight ends that you can move him for and the comparable quarterbacks. Like, just not really pushing the needle in any of those directions. So, and given his maximum initial pullback that I think he has, more times than not, I'm probably just taking the risk on Treylon and hoping I can at least sell him before it's too late. If I do think he's bad, right, there's going to be that period before the draft next year and even potentially before free agency where I think his price, if that bad case happens, will steadily go down instead of like an immediate straight shot down. Unless he really fucking sucks. If he really sucks.
Yeah, but I think we've seen enough of him to be like, he doesn't.
Yeah, he can. He's on the field, yeah,
he can play. He can at least play. We know that much. Which is not the same as Jalen Reagor, but
I also think
not exactly the same.
One argument I will have in favor of Treylon is that watching some of the Titans OTA stuff and whatnot, and just listening to Treylon this year, it really sounds like he's much more confident and comfortable in that building this year, which obviously it's hard to have anything tangible come out of that, but it really like from just an outside perspective, it felt like Treylon was not comfortable at all last year. He just kind of looked out of place a little bit on that Titans roster. Whereas now, not a rookie anymore, can breathe apparently, get that little bit of confidence flowing, right? The organization believing in him could be the little bit of a bump that he needs, because I like him more than I like Bateman. Produced in a tougher conference. He didn't have the early numbers in his career like Bateman did, but better draft capital. There's really no one stopping him from being an alpha receiver. And unlike JT, I don't really care about the passing numbers there, because as long as he's getting his 7 targets and is relatively efficient on those, can score some tutties, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, but the problem is I don't know if he gets those 7 targets. This is a team that you're talking about that might throw the ball 20 times a game. Like, this team isn't throwing the ball a whole lot. This team is turning around and handing the rock to Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears. That's what this team is going to do. Especially with Tannehill at quarterback, maybe Will Levis at quarterback. I just don't see a route where he's getting that 8 targets a game, 7-8 targets a game. And even if he does, he's going to get 4 or 5 receptions. But it's just not enough for me to love it. I mean, I just think this. Oh, excuse me. This offense is not going to be good, and similar to Okonkwo, I don't know if there's enough to support him consistently. I think he'll have his weeks where he pops off, and I think that's just inevitable because he's such a good yards after catch guy where he's going to break one of these for a 60-yard touchdown, a 70-yard touchdown, whatever it is, and he's going to have his big weeks, and I think that's just the facts. But as a average, I don't see him having those, high yards per game, high touchdowns. I just don't think that's what Treylon's going to be. And I don't necessarily think he's a bad player. I think he's a good player in a very shitty spot.
So I looked at the numbers. That's Carolina. Sorry. Tennessee passed the ball 26.8 times per game. So you are right in that if he were to get 7 targets a game, it would be that 25-26% target share of the offense. So Treylon would have to hit that pretty high level receiver case for that to happen. So I actually do think that your point has a good amount of validity to it there. But at the same time, he was drafted to be a 26% target share type of player.
Mm-hmm. Parker, I just sent you a trade for Zay Flowers in the 2nd, 3rd, and 20 league.
I can offer you 1 Curtis Samuel and 1 second-round pick.
To me, for Zay Flowers? Yeah, I cannot accept that one.
I can offer you another 3rd-round pick.
No, thank you. If you guys are curious, it's I offered him for Alvin Kamara and a 2nd in 2026.
I can give you 1 Zeke Elliott and a 2nd.
I don't really like Zeke as much as I like Kamara. Parker said he kind of likes that. Interesting. All right, maybe we have a live trade here on the 3rd and 20 pod.
Who's my other running back in that league is old too. Oh, I think it's Chubb. But Chubb's good.
Nicholas? I think it's just Nick, but yeah. Who else do we want to talk about? Who's talking? Would you do the same
what tier of player do you want to go? Because I got plenty of guys, but if we don't want to talk about shits, we don't have to talk about them. Or second roundy, third.
I like talking about those. These are the guys that are they're not your top tier players on your roster. But
what about Jerry Jeudy? Where do we stand on Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, okay, that's kind of the realm I'm thinking of too.
I think where is he going in? I think he's slightly overpriced right now. Realistically, he shouldn't cost anything more than Brandon Ayuk does. He's a little bit flashier. Yeah, Sean Payton's going in there. I'm not head over heels for Jeudy at his current value, but at the same time, I do think that there are prices that you and trades that you can do to acquire Jerry Jeudy that I don't hate it. Problem is, I just want DJ Moore. I just want DJ Moore more than him.
They are ranked right next to each other. Jeudy is wide receiver 22 currently. DJ Moore is wide receiver 23. They are pretty much exactly the same.
And I might start to convince myself that if I'm a contender, I might just trade Jerry Jeudy and then move into Calvin Ridley or Chris Godwin or Deontay Johnson, who I think will have virtually the same season, probably have a higher likelihood of a better season. Yeah, I'm missing out on the upside, but I know there's a tangible difference there in value between those players.
Yeah.
That you can actually exploit.
There is.
But do you think he could be that stud muffin McGee?
I think that is. I mean, listen. I think it's a outcome that could happen. I think he's the best receiver on this Denver football team that just brought in one of the better offensive coaches of the past decade that has a Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, I think it's in the realm of possibilities that could happen. Do I think it's likely? No. But of all these receivers on this team, I think he's clearly the best one. I know people like Cortland Sutton. I think he's just not the same after his injuries. I think this is Jerry Jeudy's 4th year now, right? Heading into his 4th year. This is his time. He has to shine. He has to go out and play well to prove his draft capital. Russell Wilson is not going to be as bad as he was last year. So I think Judy's in line for a bigger season than he's had in his career. And if that's a stud muffin McGee, I don't know. But if you're going to tell me he's going to put up 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns, I think that's pretty fair.
I just don't want him at this price. Here, I'll pull up the startup rankings again. He's just high up on the board at 5'10", right around the range of Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman, Quentin Johnson, and Jordan Addison are slightly above him. DJ Moore's behind him. But then we get, I just think he should be going around the Godwins and the Terry McLaurins and the Ayuks and in this tier, you know?
I don't disagree. I think he's probably should be pretty much the same price as Ayuk. I think they were the same draft class, put up similar numbers. So I think he should be right next to Ayuk. I don't think that's really out of the question. The reason he's ranked above the other guys is because he's younger, but yeah.
Right. I think in most scenarios, though, basically no matter what my team is, I feel like I'm selling Jeudy.
Parker and I did do the trade.
Oh, nice. What was the trade?
Alvin Kamara and a 2026, which is forever from now, 2nd round pick for Zay Flowers.
Cool beans.
I like that, Parker.
Yeah, well, we know you're the Zay Flower guy. You are the solid Ravens guy, but you're
I'm also a Zay Flowers guy, but also I just think Kamara was washed, so whatever.
Yeah, I'm buying in at the prices. This is the big year of me of buying in on players that everyone deems washed before they're washed.
Yeah, we've seen how that works out for you, JT.
We will see. I bought Aaron Jones in the other 3rd and 20 league.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying you personally bought from me in the past Antonio Brown.
Okay, well, I mean, there's a difference between washed and mental health issues, whatever. Because when Antonio Brown played, he was good. He was good.
Yeah, well, you've also bought Julio Jones for me when he was on the Buccaneers, so here we are.
That one was tough. That one, I didn't give up like crazy, but that one was tough.
You gave me a 2 for a 3 swap there.
Yeah, I don't think I think it was worth the price. I think all these are worth the price. I mean, maybe Zay Flowers is like Hall of Famer and I screwed up bad, but I'm willing to check and see. Okay, so
let's do some fun ones. What's a fun one we could do?
this one I don't want to do it when Lounis isn't here, but there's talks about Kadarius Toney being the Chiefs' #1 wide receiver.
Guys, it doesn't matter, okay? They can say whatever they want. It doesn't matter. The #1 player on this Chiefs is Travis Kelce, and it will be for the next 2 years. So, like, I'm not buying whatever wide receiver they get there unless it's Jamar Chase. Like, who are they getting that's really going to be a better passing option than Travis Kelce? No one. So, to me, also the relationship that Kelce and Mahomes have, it's just something that doesn't happen very often. I think it's a Rodgers, Devontae Adams-esque connection kind of deal. So it doesn't matter if he's the wide receiver 1 on this team. He's still the second receiving option.
The only thing I hate is that he just didn't get a lot of snaps last year. That could be due to injury, but
I mean, the snaps I'm not as concerned about because he was, mid-season acquisition, injuries, this and that. But the problem with Kadarius Toney is he's never been healthy. For 2 years on the Giants, he was never healthy. He was injured coming in the draft. He's injured now. He's one of these guys that I just don't see playing a lot of snaps ever in his career.
Yeah, and that's an issue to me. Is that
yeah.
I don't want if I want to bet on a gadget player, why not bet at Rondale Moore at half the fucking price, right? Yeah, Tony's got higher upside, and I have Toney in a league or two, and I'm probably just going to hold for the upside there, but I'm not going to say I'm optimistic. If someone came offering me second round picks, I'd be hard pressed to say no, right? So yeah, I'm not huge on Toney.
We all know how I feel about Toney.
If I'm a contender, right, I'm looking at players going around him. I'll trade Kadarius Toney, lose the upside for David Montgomery. I'll even fucking trade Toney for AJ Dillon. I'll take the bait on AJ Dillon. Why not? Yeah, even if I needed a QB, I might trade him for Stafford, right? He's a good piece to pick up a Stafford kind of guy with. James Conner, even. I'm not huge on James Conner, but fact of the matter is as a contender, I'm much more confident starting and betting on James Conner actually making an impact than Kadarius Toney. And if this snaps thing is going to be an issue his whole career, I feel like I'm losing out on the upside that's getting him priced that high.
Yeah.
Parker in chat is saying, I think Montgomery is a huge buy. I don't know about huge, but I do think your roster needs those consistent guys that are going to put up, points. They're going to score you a decent amount, and you can plug and play them. And that is what Montgomery is offering you at a super cheap price, I think, relative to what he's going to give you. So
I like the Montgomery buy. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just going to be very similar to the DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, the backfield that we saw last year, where you see now you have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I think it's just going to be a very similar where Montgomery is going to get a lot of the goal line work and potentially a lot of touchdowns here. So I do like that buy, considering his price is pretty low right now.
What do we think of Mike Williams? What does it take to get Mike Williams in a trade?
You have to give me something to take Mike Williams.
Really? Does Mike Williams hate?
I side with Jake.
Dude, I think Mike Williams is a buy.
On the same side here. Nah.
Mike Williams I've never been a Mike Williams guy. I just think he's a very one-dimensional player that's oftentimes injured. I just don't really want a part of him.
I think he's a sneaky candidate for 1,000 yards and is a solid flex play.
You're going to need Quinn Johnston or Keenan Allen to get into it.
Okay, but hear me out, Frank. That's fine. If you want him as a flex play, I don't mind that. But you're paying a wide receiver 2 price for him. It's just such a... You're not going to... What's he cost right now? People are going to say, I want a second.
41 now.
Yeah, but you're paying, an early second for him?
I was hoping I would try to target him with a contender second sort of a thing.
I don't think that deal gets done because if I just don't. If you can get him for that late second, sure, fine.
He's right around Jonathan Mingo on this ADP. Jonathan Mingo's what, a mid-second?
Yeah, I just don't think a deal.
Oh wait, I'll tell you trades that happened with him.
Yeah, maybe it's a little too expensive.
Mike Williams for a first. Mike Williams for K Makers. Those are two
very different
values of Mike Williams. Mike Williams and a first for D Hop.
What?
Okay, that's kind of in the realm of Jake being like, you have to pay me to get Mike Williams. Mike Williams for Chase Claypool, Jake Ferguson, and 2024 third. Mike Williams for James Conner. Mike Williams for Hendon Hooker and Tajay Spears. So that's kind of in that second and third realm, I guess. Mike Williams for Juju straight up. People are all over on Mike Williams. Mike Williams for 2 seconds.
Jeez. These are not what I expected to hear, but all right.
Mike Williams for a 2023 second. Yeah, people are all over the map on Mike Williams. I don't know. I'm out, though.
I'm out.
I'm not. Yeah.
Out.
I don't think. Let me look.
I got an interesting one for us if we're ready to move off Mike Williams.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
What about Tank Bigsby? Because he's a guy in rookie drafts right now that I think is going a little too late. I really think people are overselling the ETN hype. I mean, listen, ETN had a great year and they fed him the rock at the end of the season. I'm not saying that. And I think he's a good back despite the Liz Frank injury, which gives me some questions about the re-injury risk. But anyways, I just think they're going to give Tank a lot of carries here. I think this isn't going to be the ETN bell cow backfield that everyone thinks it might be. And I think this Jaguars offense is obviously well on the up with Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk. You bring in Calvin Ridley, like Evan Ingram back on the tag. Like this offense has the opportunity to be very good. And if I'm going to get a guy that's going to get that 10 carries a game, couple targets maybe, I'm just in on that price for a late second. He's currently ADP 21 in rookie draft, so that's 209. I think that's too low. He's going after guys right now: Marvin Mims, Josh Downs. I like Roshan. I like Laporta, but after Mingo, like there's a lot of guys here where I think Tank Bigsby's underrated right now.
I think it's a fair price, generally speaking. Yeah, I think Tank Bigsby's fine. I've seen some people rank him pretty highly in the second round, which is where I start to disagree. And there are players that I like after Tank Bigsby as well in some of these drafts, which makes it a little quirky. But I think that if you draft Tank Bigsby in that late second, yeah, I'm not going to have any complaints about it. I think he's a good player to have in your team. And a really high value handcuff if ETN goes down. He's one of these backs that can legitimately handle a full workload. And I agree, when you look at his price, around Alexander Madison, Khalil Herbert, Roshan, like a round and a half behind James Conner and Brian Robinson. Like, yeah, I agree that there is a huge likelihood that Tank Bigsby can go up from this year to next year. Not significantly, but yeah, I could definitely see his ADP going up a round or two. I'd probably bet on that more than it going down a round or two.
Speaking of running backs, you know who we haven't talked about? Going back to the Chiefs, Isiah Pacheco. He's kind of he's like a valuable player, but I'm kind of out on Isiah Pacheco at that price.
It's probably just not worth the risk when you're looking at him in the mid 8th round. Even if you shove him back around, it's a little bit better. But then there's still plenty of players that I would rather have over Pacheco. Or at least I think like are generally speaking in the same tier. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just think that he's one of those dudes that, yeah, I can understand why people like him. He looked good. He runs hard. He's on the Chiefs, but the price of admission for a lot of these second-year running backs right now is too high for the hit rate. Yeah, if it does hit, it's going to work out. You might be able to find your next little Ramondre Stevenson. And I think one of these dudes between Rashad White and Pacheco, and I'll even throw fucking Cam Akers in there. James Cook, Brian Robinson, like one of these dudes is going to hit and basically double in value. But it's almost impossible to tell which one, and you have to pay a pretty, like, what's the price? Like an early second to get in?
So he's been traded recently for James Cook straight up. 211 in this draft, a 2024 second and 2025 third. So 2 seconds and a third, well, although one being a very late second. I'm trying to find more that are just kind of Pacheco dependent. I wish that was helpful. It's him in a first for a first. I wish it told me what picks because it was in 2023. Isiah Pacheco and Derek Carr for 2023 first. Isiah Pacheco for Jahan Dotson. Pacheco in a third for Antonio Gibson and Samaj Piran. Interesting. Pacheco in a 2024 second for Amari Cooper and a 2024 third. Pacheco in a 2023 second for Antonio Gibson and a 2023 first.
Oh, that's a great trade because I was thinking I would just do Pacheco in a second for a first straight up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing is that, like, I've had success trading players in this Pacheco tier for first round picks.
Pacheco in 502 for 207 and a 2024 second.
Or at least like them plus for first round picks. So that's the first thing I would try. I don't think it gets done, but I think if you have Pacheco, if you have Akers, I did this with Christian Kirk, Derek Carr, all those players. The first thing I would do is see if I could do them in a third or them in a second for a first. Obviously, a little bit league and team dependent there on size and whatnot, but those are all moves that I think virtually no risk.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anyone else you guys want to talk about? Or he's Sparky.
Let's pick one more and then we can end it there.
Okay.
I am gonna go with someone that we really haven't talked about.
Alexander Madison.
Mid,
sure.
Trash.
Yeah,
Next
I'm not.
All right, well, that was easy.
What about Dallas Goedert?
Okay.
He's the problem with Dallas Goedert is, especially I'm talking tight end premium leagues, is people who have him are going to want a first for him. And if you don't have him and you want him, you're not going to give up a first for him. So I think you run into kind of a mixing paradox here on Dallas Goedert. But in terms of the player, I mean, I think he's in a great spot. I mean, I don't think he's going to put up any groundbreaking numbers, record-breaking numbers, but he's in a good offense. He's got receivers on the outside that are going to draw the coverage away from him. I like Dallas Goedert. He's a good player, but I think the price is where people are going to run into a problem.
I actually think this might be the time to sell Dallas Goedert.
I mean, it probably is. He's a tight end heading into his year 28 season. It's probably the time before people start, having that 30 number around, and then people get weird.
Well, I'm also just thinking about how fucking nasty the Eagles' offense was last year. Like, yeah, that could definitely happen again, but man, like Dallas Goedert had a really efficient season. I feel like when you look at his numbers, and I don't know. I look at him in the startup draft ADP. I agree with what you're saying that you might struggle to get that price for Dallas Goedert, but it seems like he's high enough where I feel like I would be able to move him for one of these receivers, or a pick that I am more comfortable in. Or even taking the fucking risk on one of these rookie running backs, moving him into one of those plus, like an A-Chain or a Charbonnet.
Well, Parker's asking about. He asked earlier when is it worth it to move it up into a top 5 tight end, I believe, if I remember correctly. Or is there ever a situation to trade a top 5 tight end? What kind of overpay would you need? That's what he's asking. I'm just looking at Dallas Goedert. I see a trade here where it's him in a 2023 second for George Kittle and 2023 third. That's interesting. The problem I have with Dallas Goedert, to kind of just wrap it up there on him, is that I do think when you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside, like Jake was saying, like, sure, it might draw away coverage, but, I mean, it's also drawing away targets. Like, you're behind 2 pretty nice wide receivers. And then you also have the threat of Jalen Hurts running it in instead of throwing the touchdown. So it's not great for Dallas Goedert. I do see trades, though, of him. It's all over the map on Dallas Goedert. I'm looking at Dallas Goedert for a 2024 second, Dallas Goedert for Tyler Higbee in a 2024 first, Goedert in a first for a first, a second, and a third. I'm going to assume they moved up in that case because it's 2023, but I don't have the pick numbers. Dallas Goedert for Christian Kirk, Dallas Goedert for a 2023 first, Goedert and a first for Garrett Wilson. That's a big one. Goedert for a 2024 first and 306 in this draft. Yeah, kind of all over the place with Dallas Goedert. But at the price of when we're talking about consistently going for a first, I just don't think he's one of those top 5 tight ends that would be worth trading into. I'm not even sure if he's in my top 5 because I think I still have Kittle and Hopkins above him.
Yeah, I don't know. He's a tough one, dude. He's because I can definitely see both sides. Because when you look at other tight ends, it's just like they're so dog shit. You go down a couple tiers, and you're in Dalton Schultz land. You know, you're dealing with the Waste Lords, and as a contending team, that really sucks dealing with the Waste Lords. It's not impossible to win with those dudes, but a lot of the times it's, oh, I bet on Gerald Everett, and now he's like having a good stretch, right? That sort of a thing. But I'm just curious to see, and going off of those trades, this seems to be completely league dependent, and rightfully so. It's probably a contender looking to move for a tight end in the right scenario. But yeah, if I can get a first straight up for Dallas Goedert right now, I would be hard pressed to pass up. And then I'll go in on, I don't know who I would move in on for cheaper though.
And David Njoku. Yes, Jake.
Yeah, maybe. Go risky on Dulcich, or go bargain bin, and let me pick up a pair of Trey McBride and
Oh, hold on. We do have some last minute
and Gesicki. How about that? Those two.
Last minute DeAndre Hopkins news before we go off. Jeff Darlington is saying Chiefs and Bills are the front runners, and what's his face? Florio is saying on Rich Eisen's show that the Bills and Chiefs are the 2 teams to watch because they don't want either of the other teams to have them. So, yeah, I think everyone
they both have to do some fucking cap bullshit to get him.
That's
already
true.
Okay. Mahomes, your half your contract is now a signing bonus. Congratulations, you just cleared $1 million in cap. Wow.
Yeah, true. There's just a possibility of a team like the Browns throwing the bag at him or something.
Or the Jets. The Jets have cap.
Yeah, Jets. My Patriots can toss him a hefty bag, but it would have to be a hefty bag for him to want to go there.
It doesn't really matter where he goes, though. It doesn't matter where he goes. And honestly, it'd be hilarious if he went to the Chiefs, because then all those people that have been going crazy for Rashee Rice, just watching them would be kind of funny. And Kadarius Toney.
That's the thing about like those kind of players where you're drafting them right after the draft because of their situation, and it very easily could turn into being worthless. Yeah. But kind of also the same thing with like the players that you're discounting, like a Zach Charbonnet. Like right now, it's like, oh, this sucks. Like he's in Seattle, but all it takes is Kenneth Walker to strain something or whatever, and then we're talking about
it's wheels up.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm fading situations for right now.
All right, I'm done. I'm getting really tired. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. We will catch you next Tuesday. You might even catch a wild loon. So peace out. Have a good one.
Might.
Maybe. Hard